Here are some helpful hints for sprinklers and lighting.
Okay, the other thing that happens as your landscape matures, plant starts to grow, and irrigation heads like this that typically were put in to water your new plants may be getting tall enough that now when they pop up, they don't really get enough done. And so you can put extensions on these things. They're just like this. They just screw on. You can just make them as tall as you want. And so in this particular case, under normal circumstances, the top of this head would be recessed all the way into here when it's not operating as it is now. But because there's two extensions on here, when this turns on, we'll turn this on here in a minute, it pops up all the way to here, getting over the top of these plants and watering this area effectively. Where if I didn't do that, the irrigation nozzle would be here and it would be blasting right into this part of the plant, and it might be watering this one more than what it needs and really not just dispersing the water appropriately in other areas. You can keep adding these on and get them as tall as you want. Another example of these boxwoods that have gotten tall enough that the irrigation head on a normal operation wouldn't get up over the top of these. So even when this thing is fully engaged, it's probably throwing water here and into the top of this. So as it got taller, I unscrew this off of here. We add another one on. Put the top part with the nozzle back in place. We rotate this around. You can just spin these, it won't hurt anything, until the slot is sort of opened up in the direction that we want it to do. And then as a test method, we pull it up like this. The water's going to shoot over the top and it'll be able to water both the boxwoods and the other things. We'll turn the system on here so you can see that. Okay, so I've dialed the screw on this all the way in, so this is now up and it's operating, but there's no water coming out because I've adjusted the screw such that it's actually off. So I'll open this thing up now. You'll be able to see how we can adjust the amount of water. There we go. So that's on relatively low, and as I keep opening up that valve with that screw head. Now that's fully open. Now I can take this while it's operating and I can just switch it in one direction or another so I can get the coverage that I want. But you can see now it's getting over the top of these boxwoods. It's both watering the boxwoods but it's watering the other plants in front. So these extensions sometimes aren't the prettiest thing, but they're extremely functional. And in most cases when you need them and the plants are too tall, they're hidden back behind the plants anyway. Okay, so this is a hose bib timer. They're really handy if you have a supplemental area that you want to water, or you might have an irrigation system but you have a new area that's seed or sod. And so you basically get one of these at any of the major hardware stores or your local hardware store, and you put it on here in front of your hose, and they're as simple as can be. I recommend the egg timer style. They do make ones that are sort of programmable that need a battery. These egg timer styles I think are sort of less mechanical, or a little bit more mechanical and less electronic. So you turn their hose on, we turn this thing on to 60 minutes and it'll just shut itself off. So if you have an extra area, you can set something like that up. It'll turn itself off, handle it by yourself. You can go to work and know that your water will get turned off. Okay, so if you have a low voltage lighting system, we typically put in a transformer like this that operates the low voltage lights, and there's a timer in here. So if you pull the front of the lid off and expose this, there's typically a lamp timer like you'd see inside your house if you went on vacation. That's how those things operate. Sometimes what will happen is you'll come home or you'll see one night that none of your lights are on. If there are no lights on at all, the first thing to do is check the receptacle. Most of these receptacles are ground fault receptacles. It means they have like a little button on them, like a circuit breaker, and that's a lot of times the first thing that pops on these things. If we basically cut power to the low voltage transformer, we've cut power to everything. The other thing that will happen sometimes is that you can see on this one is that there's actually a button on there. If you can zoom in on that. There's actually a button on there that is the breaker. But a lot of times what will happen is you'll have an exterior fixture receptacle that does not have a button on it. And so new homes in the last 10 years, when they are building these homes, they'll have one receptacle, in some cases outside, but in most cases are inside, or they're in your lower level, or they're in your bathroom, that has a button on it. And there are 2 or 3 or 4 exterior receptacles that are all wired together on it. All exterior receptacles are ground fault receptacles, meaning they are operated or can be turned off with a button. Sometimes the button is just inside in your bathroom or in your basement. So it's important that you sort of know where that is. So if all your lights are out, the first thing to do is check the receptacle. You can plug in a blow dryer or a lamp to it. If you don't have any power there, then you know it's the receptacle, and you can look for your ground fault receptacle button. If you do have power to your receptacle, then more than likely it is the transformer. Sometimes it can simply be the timer. These timers just plug in like this. You can take them out. You can set the time to where you want. You just pull or push the pins out for it to come on when you want. So here we have it set up for 7:30 till around 11:45. We set the time to noon, which is what it is right now. And we plug it in. That's all there is to it. So check this and make sure that's still on. You can check your receptacle and make sure it has power. Some of these transformers will have little power switches or switches in here to either turn them on or turn them off, or a little breaker in here. So check those things real quick, because a lot of times that's the quick fix, and that's what's wrong with most systems most of the time when all the power is out. Other times you'll have a single light out or a couple of lights out. That's typically something that's maybe more wiring related to underground wires or moles or frost heave that's sometimes separated a connection. If those things happen, feel free to call us. Okay, so if you have fixtures like this, you'll have bulbs in there if it's a, unless it's an LED. But if it's a non-LED bulb, you can unscrew this little thumb screw on the bottom. You slide this piece off. There, your bulb is right there. You take that bulb out. Get your new bulb, you stick it in. It's just a 2 prongs that stick in there like that. Slide this cover back on, although you might wash the glass. Turn the thumb screw. You're ready to go, short of readjusting it.